was not entertained at all during the skills challenge. I promise you, no one was asking for that. Now, the game itself, here's the thing. So All-Star Weekend just wrapped up and I want to talk about it because I have some positives, but I also have some things I really want to talk about that are very controversial. I think the best way to approach this is going in chronological order, so let's start with the celebrity game out of all things. Turns out DK Metcalf could probably get a 10-day contract. I mean, seriously, the fact that Ben Simmons still has an NBA roster spot and DK Metcalf doesn't is pretty insane to me. Overall, the celebrity game was actually pretty fun to watch and Giannis was one hell of a coach. In the past, I've been very critical saying that there weren't enough celebrities that we actually knew, but I feel like I knew most of the lineup. Now, to be fair, not a whole lot of people really care about the celebrity game, and also it's not that competitive, but I still thought it was pretty fun. Next up, let's talk about the Rising Stars game. They did that mini tournament format again, where I think they had 4 teams. Team Pau ended up taking the W, and Jose Alvarado did actually win the MVP. Now, not a whole lot of people care about the Rising Stars event. I wish they would go back to the old format where they did like rookies versus sophomores, because the tournament, I don't know, I felt like it was a little too much, but to be fair, not many people really care about the Rising Stars game. But you know what? It was still pretty interesting to see a bunch of young players going at it. Alright, so All-Star Friday is going to be a pretty short segment because there wasn't a whole lot to talk about. Let's move on to All-Star Saturday, probably the most entertaining day out of all the days in All-Star Weekend. I don't know how the NBA managed to ruin the skills competition, but they did just that. I mean, sure, seeing Team Utah get the win was entertaining, but that's about it. This whole obstacle course thing really didn't make sense. Especially like separating it with the rounds. If we were gonna do the skills contest, I wish it was just back to the old format. It was just the NBA doing a little too much for something they didn't need to do, which is gonna be a very common theme in this video. I'm just gonna be honest, I was not entertained at all during the skills challenge. I was actually scrolling through DoorDash trying to find something to eat. I did get Popeyes for anyone that was wondering. But yeah, the skills challenge just wasn't that entertaining, and I think if they go back to the old format where they have players go up against each other and they do the regular obstacle course, that would be a lot more entertaining. I just don't really care about the skills challenge anymore as much as I used to. Next, let's go to the 3-point contest. There are not really a whole lot of bad things to say about this. I mean, Damian Lillard absolutely killed it in the 3-point contest. He ended up winning that and only beat Buddy Hield by 1 point. Overall, it was pretty fun to see, and I think they picked some great shooters. The lineup overall was pretty solid, but I need someone to answer this one question for me. Who in the actual fuck let Julius Fat Randle in? Out of all the shooters you let in Julius Randle. I promise you, no one was asking for that. Like, why didn't you put in like Yuta Wanawambe or like Damian Lee? Or hell, why not pick another player from Utah? Like I said though, I'm not gonna really complain about the 3-point contest. It's just a 3-point contest. It's people shooting. You cannot mess that up. Now the dunk contest. Let's talk about the dunk contest. First of all, some people thought this was a terrible lineup. A lot of people didn't even know who half these players were. I for one knew all of these players, but I talk about the NBA for a living, so I kind of have to. What I thought was interesting is a lot of people were mad that Mac McClung was actually picked to be in this contest. For those of you that don't know, Mac McClung was actually in the G League about a week ago. However, he got brought up and some people are saying it's for this event. I don't know how true that is. A lot of people were mad at this and they're like, oh, why is a G Leaguer in this? But it is Mac McClung. And if you were around for like the 2017, 2018 Balls Life era, you would know that Mac McClung's been doing this for the longest of time, which is why it was no surprise to me that Mac absolutely destroyed the competition and damn near had a 50 on every single round. I think his worst score was like a 49.7. Now Mac has said he's going to come back for the dunk competition next year, so hopefully he actually does. Now I do want to talk about the lineup because the lineup itself wasn't that interesting besides obviously Mac McClung. I really wish we would see John Morant be in the dunk contest. I don't know why he won't. Zion said in an interview that he might do it next year. He said he's gonna need to prepare and stuff like that, which I would love to see. For some reason, John Morant is being very stingy about it. He's saying like, oh, I need 1 billion likes in order for me to do it. At this point, just throw John Morant a bag like we're $10 million or something. I think the whole world needs to see this. Now that's gonna wrap up All-Star Saturday. Let's talk about the All-Star game, where a lot of the topics I want to talk about actually happened. First off, why was the lead up to the actual game like so damn long? The draft was like 30 minutes before, which I knew was gonna happen, but then they did like a bunch of player introductions and then they did like a Post Malone concert. I don't know, it seemed like that shit took forever. forever. Now, the game itself, here's the thing. The shooting, it was cool. I mean, seeing all these players score a bunch of points and all that, it's entertaining to a degree. So to see a shoot around essentially happen in like a scrimmage type form, it was cool, I guess. But a lot of people after the game admitted that this might have been the worst All-Star game we've ever seen. I mean, there got a point where Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were literally playing a 1v1 in the middle of the game. This probably went on for like a minute or two, and sure, it was entertaining, but the whole All-Star game, it's just starting to lose meaning. Overall, the game just felt weird. I mean, Giannis played for the first like 3 seconds, made a dunk, and then he was out the game. Bron played for the first half, but apparently he had a hand injury after dunking the ball, which I don't know how true that is. So the 2 captains on each team didn't even play. Again, it just felt very weird to watch, and it felt like I was watching a shoot-around mixed with a scrimmage. What's crazy is that's probably not even the worst part about this entire weekend. I wanted to make an entire video on this topic, but I knew if I did, the video would probably get demonetized. And I'm honestly starting to get pissed off even thinking about this, but why did we honor Karl Malone at the All-Star game? Why are we giving this man, why are we talking about him? And look, I know some people are gonna say, hey, the All-Star event was in Utah, and Karl Malone, Utah, they really go together. Yeah, well, so do Karl Malone and 13-year-old girl. Like, sure, I get it, but I really don't get it. The NBA basically treated Kyrie Irving like he was that one person with the really bad mustache. I'm not saying his name, but you know who I'm talking about. I mean, they literally didn't let Kyrie Irving on the top 75 list because of his thoughts about the vaccine and things like that. But you honored Karl Malone. You not only let him at the dunk contest. That pissed me off, but you know what? I was like, we're just gonna see him at the dunk contest and that's it. No. We talked about him not only before the game, but during halftime when they were doing like a little ceremony for LeBron. I'm just so confused. You blacklisted Donald Sterling, you blacklisted Tim Donaghy, but you're not gonna blacklist Karl Malone, someone who is a proven criminal? Overall, seeing Karl Malone at the event was just so weird, and the fact they honored him, again, I did not understand. Like, if you wanted to honor a player from Utah, you could have done John Stockton, which I don't like John Stockton in any way, shape, or form, but you know what? Let's let John Stockton represent Utah. Not that he's a good person or anything like that. I'd just rather have him than that sick-ass motherfucker named Karl Malone. Now, to move on, Jason Tatum would end up actually winning the MVP of the whole All-Star game with 55 points, which was actually the All-Star game record, which was previously held by Anthony Davis. Overall, the All-Star game is something that I don't know if we can really fix. Some people are calling for it to be substituted by a 1v1 tournament or like a 21 tournament, or at least make their higher stakes, but it's in the middle of the season and you're having the best play. I don't really know what you could do to make there be more stakes at this event. I mean, there's some charity on the line, but also I don't think we're gonna see a full defensive All-Star game. It just really doesn't make sense. I mean, in most contact sports, I don't even know if that's possible, especially the NFL Pro Bowl, which a lot of people are mad at the Pro Bowl for it turning into a flag football game. In the end, All-Star Weekend definitely has its problems, and this year, I don't know if I would have said it's the worst, but it definitely wasn't the best. I'm also gonna say this for the record, Adam Silver is probably the worst commissioner the NBA has ever seen. Anyways, that was the recap of All-Star Weekend 2023. Of course, there are some flaws, but there definitely were some positives, and overall, I want you guys to tell me what your favorite event of All-Star Weekend was. But yeah, that's the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe, and don't listen to casuals.